Hi, Forex Fortune Hunters. It's Tom Wilmot coming to you on May 24th. That's the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend 2020. In this video, we're going to review a number of our templates and focus in particular on Double Whammy Plus. That's the one with Trend Magic, the very popular Trend Magic, and the Chandelier Stop. I'm going to show you how I traded these during the past week. We're going to go over the Euro USD and perhaps a couple of others if we have time without drawing this out more than 15 minutes. So hold on to your hats. We'll get started right after this. Okay, we can use any currency pair, really, traders. They will have different patterns, but the patterns will all comply with our template strategies. So let's start out with the Euro USD. I selected a 30-minute chart. Here you can see it on the wall. This was the Sunday night, Monday morning, early Monday morning, Boston, U.S. time. And it began on the 18th of May, as you can see, and then we came back over. We had a choppy week, really. We went up for most of the week, and then Friday, we had a turnaround and a significant drop-off at the end of the period. So let's see how we would trade this and show you a few tips and tricks. First of all, if you were to take just the basic template and we go back to just double whammy basic, it will get rid of all my multiple moving averages and we'll simply have the trend magic, and then we'll have the chandelier as our stop level. So that the specific way you trade this would be to use the chandelier in this region here to hold off. Even though we turned red here, if you're in the middle of a trade, you'd hang on perhaps until chandelier took you out. But if you are just beginning, you'd wait until you had double whites here, and that would give you the go-ahead. So now let's take a look. Once again, 30 minutes Monday, and in the middle of the day, closer to the London Open and into the New York Open at 7 a.m. on Monday morning, we did have a pullback. That pullback didn't last in terms of a downtrend. We stabilized in the early Monday morning session, and that's typical. It's choppy usually in that area. And then we get to the London Open, and we blasted off to the sky. Now I had this at this level because I wanted to show you the most of the week, but let's open it up a bit here so that you can see it more clearly. What we want to do, and a trick that I use if you're looking at the 30-minute chart, because that'll give you a wider lens on what's happening in the market, then what you can do is add your vertical line here. And that will leave us at this next bar after this surge to the upside and the double white lines. So let's see what happens if we drop down to the 15-minute chart. It has to recalculate. And even notice we had this particular candle here, which got us all the way down almost to trend magic, which is where you want to get in. You want two things to be happening. You'd like to be above the trend magic line with double whites, and you'd like to get as close to it as possible. And that would then, if you'd been able to get in this particular area, given you a stop of somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 pips, which is not a big deal when you take a look at what's happening next. This was the 7 o'clock open. Here was the New York Stock Exchange. So we are after the London Open here in this case, and we can measure now from here up to here. 35 pips, a small pullback, but nothing to worry about. And then a zoom higher to 85, 86, maybe 90 pips during the balance of that session. And then notice we trend off and we consolidate. No action here. The big move has happened, and the true range of the day of about 100 pips has been reached. Okay, let's add our multiple moving average to this, which I call double whammy plus. We'll bring these in, and you can see here again we have the shorter, the narrower candles. Let's open it up so we can see what we would have. This is a medallion from our indicator showing the crossover of the 12 and the 24 EMA represented here in these bands. And notice that we did have the uptick here, so that was a triple confirmation, really, that we were on our way higher. We had double whites, we had a crossover of the 12 and 24, and our RSI popped out of the 55 range here and was very strong during that early U.S. morning session here. Okay, now let's take another look at this particular entry down here to see if we can figure out how we might get a more magnified view of things. Once again, we were at one point back down to the 15-minute chart. Here was that candle that we said was going to give us an entry. Let's open it up so you can see it clearly. Now, if this isn't good enough, it's okay for you to put your line right back here where we had it before. Drop down to the 5. We know that the 30-minute is strong and powerfully moving to the north. So it's okay to drop down to a lower time frame at this point to see if there's a more precise entry. And sure enough, this is a beauty right here. We have a pullback down to the trend magic. We do not even breach the 45-55 RSI. We have a reversal and a bounce off of that line. Our moving averages are stacked and moving higher. So this is really the double whammy plus that we're looking for here on the 5-minute chart. And to make matters even more attractive, our potential stop loss is about 10 or 12 pips down below the chandelier. So we really have very little to worry about on this entry. We're into this position. We don't know how high it's going to go or how fast it's going to move, but we really have eliminated the risk. Notice also that these candles on the 5-minute chart are not wide candles like up here. This is not the volatility that you face in this area. This is a much easier place to get involved. Now, this is the 7 o'clock hour on that Monday morning, and that's the open of the U.S. session for me. Here's your line for the stock market opening at 9:30. But in any event, now we get into this position. We're never threatened. We never have a change of white to red, even though it gets volatile here after the 9 o'clock hour during the stock market morning session. No biggie, because we're really just headed higher, even on a thing like this. Just a reversion to the mean of the 12 EMA. Off we go here. Now at this point over here, we are reaching, 1700, maybe 1700 minus 4 for me is 4 hours ahead on the server, so that's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And now with the Europeans headed home, the European close, the Asians are all asleep. It's just the remaining folks on Wall Street trading this, and so it's time to wrap it up for the day and bag our profits. So here we are. We have a nice move to the north, and in this area up here, 86 pips against that stop loss potential of just 15. Okay, I dropped back to this 30-minute just so we could see what's happening on Tuesday. We do have a little bit of a pullback, and that's natural. Those pullbacks, ebbs and flows, or some profit taking in the early part of the session, or potential people looking for a reversal. But once again, whenever we drop down into our bands, this is the benefit of having the plus here, the multiple moving averages on top of our trend magic, which just turned red here. The Chandelier Stop has not been attacked, so there's no stop out if you did not get out of that trade and you're following as a swing opportunity for 2 days or something. But in any event, I wouldn't be getting back in here. I would probably be waiting until a pullback to this trend magic line, and maybe trying to see if we're going to get a launch higher again. But these are pretty big candles. This one is very unforgiving on the 30-minute chart. So the only way you could do it would be to drop down on your 5 if you wanted to see what was happening in this area maybe and take a look. But you could also, you just made, 85 or 86 pips the previous day. You can kind of take it a little bit at a time, and maybe this trend has run its course. Especially because these are larger candles and it's much less forgiving about what your entry should be. Sometimes it's best just to not take a trade at all and stay on the sidelines and see what develops. Now Wednesday, on the other hand, looking good here. We've had a break in the chandelier back to the upside, so we have our support in place. We have our trend magic. We have this medallion suggesting we're headed higher on our crossover of the 12 and 24. And notice what happened. We have a pretty decent trade on this Wednesday. Anywhere in this area, you could wait until you get into here, right down on top of the trend magic, and off we go to the races, and we have a 56, 50 pip kind of a move, okay? So that's a Wednesday opportunity, and it does happen earlier in the session. So if you're in the States, you may not get that at this point. That may be all she wrote, and for your U.S. session, you may not have much available to you. Then we had continued chop into Thursday and a big launch, and then a reversal. And so all of these big candles suggest maybe you want to look at another currency pair. We don't have time for that in this particular video, but you might want to check US CAD. You might want to look at one of the pound pairs, the Great British Pound, to see if there's anything that's a little easier to enter on. But here we go into Friday. We did have this reversal late on Thursday in the downtrend, some big launch to the downside. Notice after those lines pulled back into all red, we had a nice pullback into the bands up into this area, and we did have late on Thursday a setup which led us to the early evening, Boston, New York time, 8 o'clock time frame, when the server on Forex.com changes over. Here was our perfect entry in this particular area. And even if you were to take this and say, where's my line? I'll get my yellow line in place because this is a ways back to the chandelier. Let's drop down to the 5 and see what happens here. Maybe we can find ourselves a nice trade and a nice location. And sure enough, here was our downtrend. This blue medallion suggested a crossover to the downside of the 12 and 24. Here we are. We're sitting pretty with these tiny candles so that it's not driving us crazy with lots of volatility. We only had a 6 pip stop here up to the chandelier. So also notice our RSI right here not being able to get back up against the 55. So in this particular area, let's open it up so you can see more clearly. We had the pullback into the bands. It tries to go higher, but then we fail. We have a candle that closes lower than 3 previous candles. A nice ability to trade here. And in fact, you don't have to use this as your stop here. We don't want this to go back above this level right here. This is the level, the high on this candle after this reversal. We're not interested in going all the way back up to the chandelier. Let's just take a trade right to the top of this candle. That's just a couple of pips. But from here down, maybe 5 or 6, I don't want that to go back above there because that would be a message that the trend is not as strong as we'd like it to be. So here we are entering, and notice what happened again to the downside. Off we go. We had a 12 pip move, and then down into here, 21 pips. A continuation to the downside all through this session. Now on the 5-minute chart, you might want to get out in this level, but on the 30-minute chart or the 15-minute chart, probably we're not going to see anything that was too tough to take. We had a little bit of an uptick here that took our candle to the white side, but our trend is still holding, so maybe you get out in this particular level. If you're the bravest of all, there was a 52 pip trade on Friday, but maybe you wait here or into the US session, and down we went and double bottomed right here. So those are some tips on how we take a look at the double whammy and double whammy plus. Let's also just quickly go back. I've shown you in the past in this Friday trade our other indicator and template combo, which is 3 events is what I call it. Let's see how that comes up here, and I can show you, yes indeed, here was our Friday trade, and we'll open it up a little bit more. Almost done, guys. Here we are, almost done. So this is our Friday trade, 3 events. And basically the three events are break down in the chandelier, a reversal in such a situation that we had not only the 12 and 24 to the downside, but also below this particular moving average I have as a 47 in this chart. So when those three things happen, and you can see here just a continuing decline in momentum, you can wait for this little pullback right here, get into the trade. You have an 11 pip stop even up to the chandelier and the 47 EMA, and then we move to the downside as we saw our 50 pips from the Asian and through the London session. So those comparisons help, and having multiple templates stored away for yourself just to see how the entries compare in real time. If you're trading a 30 or 15-minute chart, there's plenty of time to test multiple templates and see how things are going. Okay, guys, if you need any of these indicators, as I've said many times, check out the description at the bottom of this video, and we'd be happy to send you a free set by getting you an invitation to our Dropbox file. No obligation at all. Please give us a like if these videos help you. Subscribe to our channel as 300 others have done, and we'll be happy to try our best to make you profitable in the Forex. Until next time, good trading. Now let's get some pips.